Welcome everybody to Mud Flood Was Armageddon. Mud Flood was the Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they want to tell you it's a flat earth nation and the golden age is past. That'd be cool. But if they don't want to tell you that, they should be willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. Hey, look who's here. It's all the way from Wisconsin via the internet. RJ, the legend. What's happening, man?
Well, it took a while.
Did you get the?
But I'm here. I'm here now. But
Did you get up in
whatever.
the 80 degrees today there in Wisconsin?
Well, it's plenty mild. It's not 80, but it's probably 60 or better.
We got about 4 inches of snow. I want to warn people, this isn't going to be a boring show. When you talk about the Freemasons and secret societies, it's kind of yawn. But in reality, I've had the opportunity to be in a university again and peer review this and peer review that. 4 classes in history, not one of them in their bibliography or their index can you go to the back of the book and say Freemasons. There is a blackout on Freemasons or secret societies as far as history goes. It had nothing to do with our history, according to historians. The fact that, Ulysses Grant was in West Point with Robert E. Lee, and they were both Freemason types. Whose loyalty do you have when you've made a death vow? So fair use. Anytime you want to chime in, Zionist Rothschild Jews for Trump. Be careful what you ask for. I get it, man. Biden stole the election. No doubt about it. This is a setup. He's a criminal. His vice president didn't win a primary. She dropped out because she was the last place in the caucuses in Ohio or whatever. He picked her because she's a minority. People don't like to just come out and say that, RJ, but I've got a feeling that
you know anything about human emotion, huh?
They deserved a woman in the White House, man.
Particularly, being played like a fiddle. Keep them on edge. And, yeah.
Anyway. So last time I saw you or last time I talked to the people, I found this guy. I'm going to be looking into him from what I've understand from this Lex Clips.
This is Rodney Dangerfield? Huh?
This man demanded respect, RJ. He was the guy, the Thule Society that started the Nazis and all the mysticism taught by the United States, which our connection with Germany is a mystery. Oh, this is something from my homework. I got to study the double whammy of the South Sea Company bubble of 1720. The double whammy with the Mississippi bubble unfolding in France at the same time. So our history is intertwined with their history, the France, England, the Bengal bubble. Everything was rocking starting in the early 1700s, leading up to the formations of the nations that be. So that's back to today. Welcome back to today's situation.
Those winds pick up, it could create more problems, and that's what they're doing right now to keep everything safe. And I was actually looking for that truck right there. Sorry to keep talking, but right there we saw this when the fire was active. That is a pickup truck with a trailer that had caught fire, and I was wondering if somebody was down there desperately trying to get items out of a home or do some kind of move, because you can see it's in the middle of the road, and the flames must have just overtaken them and
Wow. So we
Yeah,
got
nothing suspicious there going on.
not according to the brush junkie. And her main man Shane breaks
yes,
it
that was
down
actually
pretty
from
good
that photo
here.
that you were talking about.
What's
So
up
those-
with
the photo of
this?
the four homes and
there, which might say there are
It starts
firefighters
at
on the
Area
ground, perhaps
51.
Well, that's what they did with that storm that flooded New Mexico or
Yeah.
yeah,
How do I
so
get
that
that
was
Yeah,
like
Roswell,
a
where everything that's
this
getting
image here,
flooded
we need to
now
take
is
it down.
famous
That.
for
Okay.
different
well, yeah,
reasons.
whether it's fire or water or high winds.
This
Yeah.
reminded me of 9/11.
Well, other than you don't have the unspent thermite and molted metal like you're in a foundry, but this stuff survived.
Yeah.
But it has unusual characteristics of a
Yeah, that's
fresh
what he
fire.
mentioned.
On,
It burnt
new-
and then it started rusting the next
new
hour.
metal. Yeah, new metal. Yeah, right. But you get down to like the last minute, and then he Shane whatever does a commentary that he overlooked, but someone brought it to his attention. Gee, I wonder what it is. What color do you think it?
Was
it's
it
right at-
blue?
Rich people in this area could
You
probably make
think?
Was it-
Like a porta shitter, a blue porta shitter, and
and
they didn't just bring it in for the cleanup crew. That had been there.
but it would be much
Plastic.
I'm just
to clear
thinking
these areas.
it would be
within
unpleasant,
a
but
domain.
people run
there
to the
had been
shitters if you're ever
disaster.
in a fire that's suspicious.
Right. All right. And then I did get a request to ask you all if you were in this area or your home was
Did I miss
destroyed
it?
or damaged.
No,
by
you're not
this
there
fire.
yet.
Is
It
and
was like
we
the
saw
last
that
minute or
Maui as well.
just
So,
before the
if
sign
you're
off,
in the
or
area,
last 90 seconds at the
um,
most.
check that out.
Way to the end.
Email me, or I guess put in the comments, but best if you email me in the description. I'll put my email address, and I would love to get some feedback because I know a lot of my viewers are in
Where does she live?
So any pictures, video,
Southern
I thought it was
California, she
experiences you've
said.
had,
California or
be sure to,
Hawaii,
more
I
information
thought.
is now hard to come by. So I wanted to put that request out. And is there anything else that we wanted to cover?
I think that's everything.
That's it.
I just
Oh,
wanted to actually show one more image.
oh,
now we can show
There it
this.
is.
There
Right
it is.
there. Right there it is.
I just want to show one more image, and as if a miracle. Well, I know that I
Just
spent
like
time
all the
at
other blue stuff that survived everywhere else.
So he did go over the this is in August it passed a situation where now it's got 5 years where it could have either exercised eminent domain and bought it, fought him in court, or it could have burned down, and now they have to rebuild.
We knew this was coming. We said there would be wildfires and damaging winds coming to California. Once again, they are dumping things over Area 51. Let's watch this again. This is incredible. Zap right there. That's crazy. They literally put this beam right on that drop, and then it all begins to expand. It then flows down through Southern California right over the wildfires. This is literally happening.
In my mind, RJ, I'm just seeing a private, with his new uniform and a colonel over his shoulder going, hit it with the zapper now! Zap it! So I had a friend over, a young Hispanic man, and, he had never heard that Ford and Hitler loved each other and that Hitler learned about eugenics and his Nazi sympathizing and how come it was, a lot of the Jews were under the gun and being, like today, it's kind of like, well, gee, I don't want to be anti-Semitic. And I guess jaywalking in New York, I heard, is anti-Semitic now or racist or something. But so that's why that's pulled up. he didn't know what a court Jew was, so I had to, break down that they were the ones that, could charge interest. They were basic Jewish bankers. And, it reminded him again that, I'm talking about the 1,000-year reign of Christ being ruled with a rod of iron. So, they were acting Christian, even though they were planning wars. And he gets it. And he goes, yeah, okay. So that really was such a thing as court Jews. But yeah, they used it, man. And they all did it. Jews in the Middle Ages. They weren't real Jews. They just were Ashkenazi Jews that said, hey, we need some Jews. And they said, we'll be Jews. Okay. You're in. And then they got rich.
Yeah.
And this is how they describe the Jewish bankers, or they call them goblins or something, but they live underground dwarves. Yeah. And they're this is what is a statue of a Jewish banker from like 400 years ago. This is what a court Jew looks like. Hey, you want to borrow some money? I'm your boy. Your man, I mean. Or whatever he identifies as today. So that was just part of my life today. Then you
like
said
the early area loan shark.
Kinda. Except they weren't desperate, like, oh, I need to pawn my PlayStation so me and my pregnant wife can have some soup tonight. This was more like, if I don't want to be embarrassed, I won't be able to afford this new wife if I don't go to war, and I need to borrow some money from these Jews, Hebrews. Anything you want to add?
You can't comply your way out of tyranny.
Here?
This is one of the delegated.
Well, other than, he's trying to educate the public with, history and law. And yeah, I watched another one from 8 days ago about the 17th Amendment. They're all about a half an hour thereabouts. And
refresh my memory with the 17th Amendment. Did that have to do with alcohol? That was the 18th Amendment.
No, that's how the senators are selected and how long they represent. See, there was a time when the states, and they had their own terms, but the state legislatures would elect their representatives to represent the states. And some of the, the state legislatures, they were annually, and you could repeal them anytime you wanted to. They weren't 6-year terms.
Okay.
And then not only that, but while they were there serving as senators, they were paid by the states that sent them there. Where now it was to keep your senators in check, so they couldn't just go there as a senator and then serve as long as they wanted to.
Nancy Pelosi and her mafia.
Any of them.
She got so rich.
But it's, that one I thought, that one's 8 days ago. This one was
I lose
Wednesday.
track, RJ. I lose track of how recent that. Did they have to pass an amendment to make it so that people like FDR can't be president?
And what year? What year do you think that was done? Like the same year that they
bombed the world?
That they instituted the money cartel called the Federal Reserve, 1913. Huh? Does that year even ring a bell?
Yes, callback senator was a part of the original Constitution, Rocky Shepherd adds. November 4th is the anti-Pope Day. That we covered a little bit of that. That ties into remember the 5th of November. I'm still trying to figure out when Satan was released. Rocky Shepherd added again. Now he put down he some recommended years. Now 1666 in the Julian calendar of the year they call it. It's just a made up year to them and us. We backtrack it from 9/11/2001. You go back, there's 335 years we're dealing with after Satan is loosed. In the Gregorian calendar, it's pretty cut and dried. That's 1711. The Julian calendar, 1666 to 1690, it's a mess. But that's when he was loose, 1711, in their reckoning of years, which puts us with 22 years left. That's about 8,000 days. 8,000 days. It sounds like a lot. Sounds like a lot.
It's one day at a time, yeah.
One day at a time. One day at a time. So here's just a list of Freemasons. Not even, and inside the Freemasons, they have the Grand Lodge Masonic, Prince Hall Freemasonry, regular Masonic jurisdiction. And they assume they have jurisdiction because, well, they told us they did. And somebody tapped them on the shoulder and said, hey, would you like to hear about an interesting fraternity that we'd like you to join where you could meet very fun and influential people? They don't tell them that you have to take a death vow until they're asking you and telling you, you want to take a death vow? You're standing there with your leg rolled, your pants undone, your one leg you rolled up and a knife at your throat. And they ask if you want to take a death vow. Standard proofs for those on the list vary widely. Some figures with no verified lodge affiliation are claimed as Masons if reliable sources give anecdotal evidence. And then there are other secret societies, more secret than Skull and Bones, where they never release who their members are until they die. Even if you were going to be Abbott and Costello, you had to be a Freemason. So it basically is, if you're good enough to get a blue name in Wikipedia, odds are you were in a secret society. There's your favorite guy.
Buzz Lightyear, huh?
Buzz Lightyear. So he's well into his 90s now, still rocking it. Member of the Montclair Lodge of New Jersey, number 144. And you can see we're still in the A's. Yet they don't make it in the history book of how they work together, with their fraternal, where they're loyal to each other. And if they can, if all things being equal, they'll choose their brother from the lodge, because that's not cheating. They were both qualified, and it was my preference. I took this guy or that guy, And until they started the Prince Hall Freemasonry, Native Americans are into Freemasonry. And like I said, it's only one of the fraternal societies, the brotherhoods. It's something everybody longs for, RJ, is community. The idea of working together, or even being a sports fan of those guys represent how hard I work, and I want them to win. And when the referees are wrong, it's like, that's what it's like for me, It's
Take one for the team.
It's something that goes on day by day, one day at a time, as we get closer to what the Bible says saints will be encompassed about. So merciful is our God. He'll rescue by fire. He'll send fire from heaven. And then then the great white throne. I mean, we are living in the time that 20, 21, 22 years from now is going to be the end of the book, that the end was written from the beginning. That blows my mind, man.
Yeah, it's going to be quite the library. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. There's one I want to look up all of a sudden. So where's that history? I want to pull that one back in. The seas. I honestly, what was I wonder if they will list Butch Cassidy under, I don't remember what his real name was. Butch Cassidy was his cowboy name, but it was like he was a Freemason, and he thought he was going to be pardoned at one time. Still seeing so many famous things here.
A blotch casualty. Yeah.
Well, I didn't see Butch Cassidy. That's probably because it's not his real name. Well, thank you, Father. Not as famous as Sean Cassidy. Remember him from the Partridge Family? He was a very famous, and I don't know if he was, but this is a Freemason. And he was very upset when he thought he had a chance to be pardoned, and he was working with another sheriff that was a Freemason and didn't meet him at a place he was supposed to meet with his pardon papers. The guy ended up with was on a train that got snowed in. It wasn't his fault. That's his real name. Okay, no, that's the Sundance Kid. I wonder if he was a Freemason. So it doesn't look like a desperado type, though. The kind like in the movie of the Robert Redford, which is.
You didn't have anything there you wanted to share. You just.
Doggone it. I was sharing it. Otherwise, I wanted you to see.
I didn't know if you were searching.
Look at there's Butch Cassidy, the ruthless outlaw. He looks like Dapper Dan, RJ.
Okay.
In 1901. So when you think of Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid,
interesting chair he's sitting in.
Spent a lot of time in New York. This is the first bank he robbed. It looks like every other kit bank in Colorado.
Yep. Fairly common.
His mugshot. Now, I don't know if it's going to mention there. His family was very religious. Let's just go back and add Freemason to the thing here. Let's see. Do you spell Mason with an O or an N? No record was a Freemason. Now, I read that he was. Although Phillips made the claim in his posthumous published that he was. So I thought there was a whole situation where, he left a note and he was supposed to be pardoned or something like that. So what they believed in was fraternity, organization, society, a club or fraternal order. Some women, they started their own, the Rebeccas, developed in the Christian context, notably the religious orders in the Catholic Church. And look at the world that used to be. I don't feel like if there was an electromagnetic pulse and we all had to go back to the Stone Ages, I think more people wouldn't consider this a gentleman's club today, but that would be our society. The Oddfellows, they're another one, a fraternal society. The Rosicrucian Society, the Rosy Cross, they were big. And I don't want people to ever forget that these were the people, these Rosicrucian Jesuits were building on the shoulders of a made up Copernicus and Galileo. And because of their education, we were supposed to trust them when they told us it was a globe, or they would skin you alive. These are how those people, academic fencing, this is what they used to do. Academic.
On guard, touche.
Yeah. They were men who weren't afraid to fight. That's what a lot of times you see those scars on people's cheeks. That's what there were. Wish we had time to go into that. Freemasons in West Germany, student societies, all telling them, you know what, you really need to join this club and take a death vow. Were you skeptical? I was at first if they really had death vows, but when the Roman Catholic defense and the Freemason defense of the Jesuits and Freemason death vows are kind of like, come on, we're just kidding. We're not really going to kill them. That's not a good defense to me. When they cover up their pedophilia and then you find out, I don't trust Donald Trump, but I don't think everything QAnon said was a lie. At least the things they exposed about Pizzagate. RJ, go ahead, man. I'm rambling.
Well, when it comes to any of secret societies, whatever they were administering as perks or French benefits or whatever that
oh wow,
as far as a bribe or whatever you want to label it, that you would take such a vow to receive whatever that bribe may be.
When you just said perk, it reminded me of, honestly, P. Diddy. And people thought it was a perk to their career to be invited to one of his sex orgies, because that's where the famous people were that could get you a job. And for some reason, that makes me mad. But it also is kind of like, wow, funny in a way. Different kind of way. But
be careful what you wish for.
It's like, Mom, I'm going to Hollywood. I'm going to hopefully meet a nice young lady and get married. Mom, I met P. Diddy. He wants to, you don't know, you wouldn't believe it. He wants to put his wanger where it shouldn't be. You know what they do. RJ, we know what they do. So their fraternities and their organizations all go back to guilds, merchants who oversee the practice of the craft, their trade. They found the spinning, and they needed 37 tons of thread to clothe their orphans. So whatever, they had guilds. I am not kidding you. And it's not only England. It was every country, every color, every tribe. There's no good guys. We pick on the white guys because they teamed up to win. But it doesn't mean that black people, you don't need to bow your knee to Jesus. You're not dead in your sins. Yes, you are. Same with you, Hindu, Indian, Confucius people. You didn't try to fake the atomic bomb and quantum physics like white people, but you're not lily white. You're not clean. You got to bow your knee before Jesus. Look at this. We'll look at the pictures of the guilds. We got a hammer.
Right?
Saw.
Did you read when you scroll back up? Just it was a sixth of a shekel. Did you read that? You gotta go up. You gotta go the
2
other.
bits, 4 bits, 6 bits, a shekel. There are several
Where did-
types of guilds. 2 main categories: religious
I think
guilds.
you
I
still
thought I
have to
saw
go
a
up.
shekel. I thought I saw a shekel.
Yeah, it was up higher. It was up higher.
Un momento. I'll find it. How do you spell shekel?
I think you're getting close here now. Oh, right here. You went too far now.
How am I missing it? It must be an H.
Right here, right on top, right there. Well, you had it right there. Now you had it right there. It was right at the top of that. I don't know where you're scrolling, but
I don't know where I'm scrolling either, RJ.
you had it right there for a moment. And
what was the deal with it? Anything you wanted to make, locksmiths, chains,
scroll up
nails.
furthermore. Scroll up furthermore. I think
I know they all had
go further up. Go further up. I think
here it is.
Further up. Right there. Right there. 1:16 right there at the bottom of that paragraph of early history. That for stipulated 1/6 shekel per day freight rate for 60 whatever girl vessel. I'm just saying that's not something that's real common currency, but we have read it in other books.
No, because honestly, the Code of Hammurabi law, it's saying circa 1755, 1750 BC.
Yeah.
This is absolutely crazy that the Code
Yeah, that's
of
not
Hammurabi,
2 bits, 4 bits, 6 bits, a dollar. This is shekel
Bible.
at that time. Yeah, right. Exactly. That's my point.
Justinian. That is what the same picture they use for Justinian. I don't know why they're calling it Saint Bartel. Napoleon, did he live? There's proof of what happened. And there's the Code of Hammurabi that talked about the shekel that they lived in star forts that we live in today. They had laws. This is the complete Code of Hammurabi. They wrote it in stone so everybody will know this is what they believed. I don't believe we faked this. I believe that this is 1,000 times more trustworthy than the Book of Enoch. It's not the Bible. It's not the scriptures. They won't lead you to El Elyon, the Most High God, only being born again and hearing his voice and drawn to him through the Father's will. But that's many people are going to get that call and work towards that narrow road. Good. Thank you. It's so cool. So your guilds, what they want to show a merchant guild house in Russia when the guild houses are like this, and they have guild houses like that in Russia. But you had to go and be an apprentice. I showed in the video today, a girl named Jane Lamb was sold as an orphan, and all they had to do was give her food, room and board, and work her no more than 12 hours a day, 6 days a week until she was 21, and then they would set her free. That was a guild. They found it, and they needed workers to make clothes in this time period? What happened? Because it seems like, you know, I lived in Texas, West Columbia, the home of the first capital of Texas. I recently met the ambassador to Mexico. I know that Moses Austin is the father of Stephen Austin, who supposedly saved and started the Republic of Texaco. His father, Moses Austin, was gifted the land that Sam Houston, that just thousands of acres, on a land grant from the King of Spain through Mexico. And that's how the Salazar family got their land here where I'm at in Alamosa, RJ. But they were on the western side of the Rio Grande, so it wasn't lumped in with the Louisiana Purchase. So with all the land machinations that has gone on since the 1840s, the Salazars still own all their land of Manassas and everything up to the sand dunes, which they donated to the state so that it would draw people to the Alamosa area so that they could see the sand dunes in the 1970s. And then he decided to run for the Senate. I don't know if he's a Freemason or not, but RJ, he's offering he's giving his Bill Gates type money from that land grant from Spain to the university to study water and water structure. And here I am. So
Make the most of it.
Right. I'm thinking that this is all very providential. And they're being exposed. I never heard that Trump was in a fraternal order, but his grandfather is the guy who went and got Tesla's secret papers after he died. It had been dead for over a month or whatever. And, we'll send over somebody from the FBI. It's Bush's granddad. You got to be shitting me. And we're supposed to just take it all with a grain of salt. Here's another laser pulse coming from Area 51 guiding a storm. Okay, I'll be that guy. Show me that 6 or 7 times in a row, and I'm going to go, had to be something, because I see more proof for weather manipulation. I have seen the chemtrails now for 10 freaking years. This flat earth crap started in 2014, RJ. And we're almost at 2025.
Yeah, I think it's just more evidence that, you were in a stationary closed system with the sea level plane that's, thrashing around. You have the tides that surge, whatever. But yeah, when it comes to
the Denver College of Mines is our arch rival, Rocky. I'm in Alamosa, 7,500 feet, where the Trinidad Junior College is our feeder system. It's like where I used to live. I might as well have been in Utah. Right now, I might as well be in New Mexico. We're just, I'm in the southern, but yeah, the College of Mines, that's that Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference that.
Yeah, if you don't like the climate change, the area that you're living in is experiencing, then you need to move. Maybe not.
So what kind of world were they living in where, that girl I showed today, Jane Lamb, here, you're sold. She didn't have any right. There was the church that sold her, the buyer that bought her, and she went to, am I sharing? Because I want you to see this.
You have a picture there.
She was running this kind of machine. Well, she was actually This is a steam pump.
He's shoveling the coal, huh?
Nah, she was running a spinning Jenny. But it was as equally as impressive as this type of a thing. They needed this so that they could keep mining coal so they could turn it into ore so they could get blast furnaces to make steel, not iron. And these things still work. They find them in the middle of nowhere. You can get a couple of people like this and see, I don't know what he's doing. He's just adjusting that wheel, and this guy up here is making sure.
It
And
appears
like you've said
mechanical.
in another thing, 10,000 people will enjoy the fruits of this 4 or 5 guy labor team. If anything should happen to them, it's going to take a while for people to walk into that situation and go, oh, I know what was going on here. Watch me run this machine. It looks pretty complicated. Wonder what they're. I've just kind of look about liberals go on a sex strike over Trump using the 48 movement. I'm sure that Trump doesn't even know those women.
Redacted?
Yeah. This is another one I wanted to show.
Today's unique episode brings us to the city of Woburn, Massachusetts, where for 85 years a steam engine has sat abandoned, hidden away in a disused portion of the municipal waterworks. Now, we're about to
I remember walking around factories when I was a child going like, how long has it been where the rails and the stairs had fallen in some places, but the machinery was just left there. The leather belts were still on some of the machines and stuff. And I just, like, what the heck's going on? And any kid could have just walked into it. Other kids in town were, old buildings. You could pull open the doors of the elevators and jump on them as they would go up and ride on them, surfing the elevators. And honest, it was these type of machines. Where do you get the wrenches for some of these big bolts? And these ones that pump water, they go down. Look at the picture.
I had to rebuild, like,
4 or
one of
5
these.
stories.
Some wise guy had thrown a rock through the window and smashed one of these, so I had to find a new glass for it. But besides that, they were all right here. They all we cleaned them and they worked. And they worked perfectly.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's how they built these things. We'll pretend that we have that little dynamo engine going now.
Isn't that amazing?
I like his shirt.
It looks comfy. Very, but to find something like this, it hasn't been used in 80 years. And he looks like a bright type of a gentleman. And him and his friends go, let's just see if it works. And it did.
Start it up.
Yeah. Again, all things being perfect, this drain would go back to the boiler room.
Is that what your dad dressed like with the railroad stuff?
Water tank?
Not so much.
Not so much.
He was white collar.
Oh, okay. He didn't work on the
managed
trains for too long.
But he did the signaling. He did the old style, relays, switches. Yeah, he was involved in the AC, DC, whether it's inverters or rectifiers. Yeah, signaling, communicating.
I don't have a problem believing in a year 1911. I just don't know when it was compared to what they called 2024. This was new at one time. I don't know when their 1908 was, or what they called 1908 when they made that machine. It may or may not relate to 118 years ago,
Nice gauge.
They just polished it, RJ. It worked after 80 years.
No, but it's a sensitive gauge. Also, I mean, it's
Oh, well, you
not
would
just
know.
the,
Now,
not just the braid,
do
not just
you
the
want
brass.
to one of the reasons, who knows why the Lord said, Puckle, this is not how it really goes, but well, for dramatic effect, go, Puckle, you will make the RJ famous. Why? Well, he is an expert on steam. You rowdy, rabble-rousing, saved by grace thing. How did you ever get working with steams? I thought you were going to be a drafter, drafting and stuff. You ended up running
Although
a
that was
steam.
early times.
How big of a steam thing does the Del Monte factory that?
Yeah, what was it? I think one was a 300 horse, and then the other one was slightly smaller, something like that. But it was those are pretty large, yeah, boilers.
One of the things that people have a problem with, polymath.
And initially, they were diesel fuel fired, but then they were converted to natural gas.
And
Yeah.
what part of the canning process uses the most steam at a Del Monte green bean factory, for instance?
Well, it'd be initially everything was retorted. It was put in retorts, and then that really, that's working the boilers right along versus the continuous cooking process.
I don't even
You
know what a
don't have
retort is. To me, a retort is a funny answer after somebody says something snotty to me.
Yeah, well, that's like a pressure cooker, but for, they had it in a large capacity. It wasn't like grandma's pressure cooker. It's a vessel that you could get. Theirs were sized for 7 crates, and these crates were basically 4-foot cubes. And you put it in that horizontal vessel. I mean, there was some that were vertical, but not there. Theirs were all horizontal. Everything was moved with a tow motor, forklift. And then that was the old bussy system where you had a cylinder in the floor, and then the false bottom would move, and then you'd have dividers between every layer, and then it would get. But yeah, the continuous cooking process, it's just one can after another on a can track as it comes off the closing machines, and then making their way through the infeed valve that's gathering all them cans one at a time horizontally, and then they roll in. And
I saw in Milwaukee, genuine Miller Draft getting bottled.
Yeah, that's another.
That is just, they just go so fast.
Oh, yeah.
And they're forcing all of that beer through a ceramic, I mean, it really is filtered. When you take a tour of one of those things, back when I drank beer, it kind of gives you a brand loyalty, But look at this machine. This is the world's largest. It's still operating, and the reason it's still operating is like that other machine. It's like, let's see if it works. It does. And it happens to be the world's largest operating working machine. And honestly, it's like looking in a mirror when I was younger, except I didn't know anything about steam then. But just look at some of the bolts and the nuts. You got to be perfect, And it doesn't look perfect. but they fired it up and it worked. And now it's the largest operating, and it's 6 stories tall. And it's so that they could pump water out of a mine, because everybody in the United States was coal mining. They loved the fact that they could go coal mining for their whole life. Just dig the coal out. He gets right into the nuts and bolts. Here's another one of these gauges.
This goes in between your high pressure cylinder and your intermediate pressure cylinder. And this range on this one, the ranges will tell you a little bit of what's going on. Main steam is 0 to 300, so you want your pressure to be about 125 to 150. And that's about right for a coreless engine. And we'll get into coreless later. First receiver is 0 to 100, so you're going to be expecting about 40 to 60 pounds. Second receiver, this is what's between the intermediate.
Now, I've seen some red-headed dudes before, but RJ, this ginger's taking the cake.
Get liners that go around the cylinders. This heats those up, gets them to temperature, and allows you to run your engine without any issue. It also helps to alleviate any stress in the cast iron cylinders from heating up.
What I want people to be understanding is that all of this work, all of this effort of what he's explaining, everything around him, the 2 stories above him, the 3 stories behind, underneath him, are all to pump water out so men can go in and get coal to make steel, because it was an industrial revolution, RJ, 140 years ago. Everything changed. And from that point on, it seemed that war was inevitable. Go, RJ.
Well, and this is all manually operated. There isn't any automation, so to speak, as far as the operating process of it. You needed an operator to manually monitor, adjust, react. Yeah, it wasn't computer controlled by any means.
Now, when I was a mailroom warehouse manager when they did this internet thing, and people were going to like, your mail's going to be digitized now, and you've got to learn the computer. Here's something called Word 1.0. And people ask, how did I learn computers? I didn't go to college for that. Like, well, I was already working at a job when they said, here, you need to do this. What am I going to do? Go, no. I got 2 children that were under 4, you know. I'm going to say, where's my computer? I want one. And they wanted this. This is what I'm talking about. Where do you get a wrench for those bolts today, RJ? What would a wrench cost you? A Craftsman wrench for that? $1,000?
That would be owned by the company. And
it would be $1,700 conservatively.
Well, you need a few guys to, tote that wrench around. You're not going to carry it in your pocket. But after it's assembled, that isn't really anything you tinker with.
I want all of the manly men and the smart women right now to stop what you're doing, to go to the chat room and put in how much you think a 10-inch crescent wrench cost right now.
Well, 10 inch, that's the handle size,
10-inch
not the nut capacity.
And we'll just get the price on eBay.
They don't make it. It's not available.
Bring it up. $40-50. And
yeah, but that's not for a
small,
that's
new,
not for a 10-inch.
Not made in. I'm not saying you can't buy
You're gonna find
something made in China for a little bit cheaper. This is more what I thought it would be like, about $130, $140, because it's a real crescent. this thing will last you the rest of your life.
It'll open up to about 1 inch and 1/8.
So, again, because you got to put a lot of pressure on something like that. How old were you when you broke your first bolt, RJ, when you were tightening something too damn tight?
You don't have to worry about breaking that one.
I was shocked. I was like, I had no idea I could break a metal bolt. That was something that never entered my mind, that, wow, if you over tight it, you'll break it.
Yeah, either or I've
Crazy.
smeared the nuts on the threads.
Nobody got a guess on that. Haas, what was your guess, RJ?
What are we guessing?
Oh, I feel like I'm not
Fair market value of a wrench.
communicating here.
Well,
RJ, can you hear me?
Yep.
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
RJ, I
Can you
can't
hear-
hear you. What's going on?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
I wonder how my sound got turned off.
No, I could always hear you.
Huh. That was weird because there was an X down there. I just noticed where it had for my headphone audio. So anyway, $130 for a crescent wrench.
And what
And-
size wrench?
I got a 10-inch one, or 12. It could be 12-inch. You know.
Okay, that's
but,
the handle. That's the length of the handle.
yeah.
It'll open up to like 1.25 inches, probably that one.
Yeah, I got it for $10 at a garage sale. And it seemed like a lot, but I use it a lot, you know. Oh wow. If you've got a lot of crescent wrenches, that's like those Snap-on. They cost a lot of money.
But yeah, an adjustable wrench is more of a compromise, but it's handy. You know, one size fits most, but they're more of a knuckle buster or whatever.
But let's look at the machinery that they find it, they study it a little bit, and they go, hey, we have the largest operational stationary steam engine in North America. It's 6 stories tall, and it was in Phillipsburg, New Jersey. Who knows? Because everybody needed coal.
Question aside, I'm actually outside of it on the other side, sitting inside one of the 2 flywheels. In front of me is another eccentric, see another telescopic oiler, and another one of the main bearings. You can also see, off to what should be your left, the crank. This is the crank, the big end from the low pressure cylinder connected to the crank web right below it. You can also see the large brass bearings in there. Now, what's really important about this specific little area is what is here, there, and here. 4 steel rods, they are threaded on both ends. The top end connects to the crosshead. The bottom end is those tie plates that I showed you before in the middeck. Those are what's actually transmitting the motion. So the piston going up and down up top, inside the bore, is moving the crosshead. The crosshead is a pin, effectively, in a sliding block that allows the main rod to pivot to turn the crank. But off to that side, bolted to those, are these 4 long steel rods. And those go down to that tie plate and bolted in there, so the motion is directly.
These, you know, just casually mention these self-oilers that just flop back and forth, not hurting anything, just with this
Yeah,
tube.
it's working off a cam and it's metered. Yeah, we call them Manzels on the cookers. For all points of lubrication.
Yes, I'd call it, if you called him a Manzel, I'd call him a Manzel. So he's walking down. I think he's on the 3rd floor now. This is why they call it balls out. I love it. That's its governor.
So this big machine here next to me is the governor, and this is what you can sort of consider the ECU of a steam engine. It is controlling the valve timing of the high pressure cylinder to maintain a constant RPM. And it's doing this with these giant big cast iron balls. There's two of them on this particular setup. The whole assembly rotates like this, and the inertia of them, as you can spin it by hand, as you can see, it's starting to rise up on that center shaft there. In doing so, it adjusts
right here.
mechanically the position.
I'm going to back it
of
up
the
again
valve.
so that you can see when he winds it.
Yeah.
I
So
want
it
to
adjusts
be here.
mechanically the position at which the valves will be tripped closed to allow for a constant RPM. Because of this, you can also run this engine with the throttle wide open and it won't accelerate or decelerate. This will control that speed. In fact, that's how you run one of these engines for maximum.
Now, everyone, please look here. You know, so you can look around. We see the machinery. Everything's, you know, screwed together, fit together fine. Even the spiral staircase. It comes in a kit, RJ. This happens to be the largest operable. They popped for buying out of a kit. Somewhere they ordered this. Nobody sat down and said at one at a time, we need to build this and then we'll build this. No, what they did was they said, we need to dig coal. We have enough money to buy one of these kits from those guys, and that will help us to dig coal. Am I making sense to the people, RJ?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's your introduction to, you know, manufacturing with replaceable parts, but this thing isn't going to wear out. Yeah, it isn't like you're just making one when you're talking a kit. Yeah, who wants one? They're all going to be the same.
They're all, the people from New Jersey didn't just get to go say like, well, I know Bill Kaczynski and he is a super good welder. You know, welding wasn't invented. It was like, well, he's good at pounding steel into the right shape. Well, go get Bill Kaczynski then. No, you order the kit. And if Bill's so good, you tell him put it together, you know. But all of these were kits. Like the gold mines were kits. The gold mining towns were kits. And they were built around places that the Tartarian mud flood buildings of the Greek revival styles that are everywhere in the world, so they could say, yeah, that's our capital. 40 people built it 150 years ago. This is interesting too. He's going deeper and deeper as he works his balls out down.
Valves to
that was so funny in my head.
To where you need it on the engine. It's quite a simple system, and all you really have to do is once in a while bring up a bucket of oil, dump it in the tank, and again, it takes care of itself. That's something that a lot of people don't understand about this particular design of engine. Waterworks engines in specific were designed to be incredibly reliable. So this engine only produces 500 horsepower. For its size, that's not a lot. Small.
No, I'm going to help define incredibly reliable to people that don't understand that, RJ. After 80 years, you can go to these things, put a little oil on them, and they still work. That's pretty reliable, RJ. Wow.
Yeah, it's not inferior in any sense.
You just go up, pour a bucket of clean oil in it, and off she goes.
Engines can produce over 10,000. The reason for this is that this whole engine was designed to be low stress. It doesn't need a lot to maintain it, it doesn't wear itself out, and it doesn't have to work too hard. It only makes 500 horsepower, but it produces something on the order of 69,000 foot-pounds of torque. So, slow but strong. And it really never has to wear out. After running for decades, it is still in fantastic condition. Most waterworks engines in this country, unless they've been harmed for some reason, are mostly in runnable condition.
It just looks like it's smooth.
Over 100-year lifespans, as simply they didn't anticipate that much would change.
And during the 1,000-year reign of Christ, probably much didn't change. until the end, when it seems like I keep getting this thought in my head that World War I was like Armageddon and the reaping is World War II, and they're only showing us highlight reels of something that happened in biblical times in our modern day, where we're just cleaning up the rubble. And we haven't fully gotten into what it means when over and over again that the 1,000-year reign of Christ was only going to be capable of existing if he ruled it with a rod of iron. And we know it's a very controversial of whether the father should spare the rod, and that means spank his child, where they would instead say today a father should say, I'm going to give you a timeout. Go ahead, man.
Yeah. Let you reminisce and think about what you just did for your timeout. And it's not going on vacation either. You'll be restricted to an area, and you might not be doing much at all other than replaying whatever that was in your mind.
The idea that there were suppliers that were selling those steam, not only for the mines, but for the railroads and to run the buildings and to make the electricity
Industry.
for the trains in the New York and the trolleys in San Francisco. And then we get the story of the fires all the time. I'm glad that we brought that all out 10 years ago and then focused on the Bible, because that turns out to be the most important thing. That even as we used to argue about Presbyterian and Lutheranism, until we got to the point of where it's like, man, they are both so messed up. And then, you were bringing in very controversial topics, and they seemed, we became a cult. We weren't in the mainstream Christian anymore. And I don't care. I'm glad. I'm happy with it's not fun to be the guy that's sort of like, I gave the most slow motion prophecy in the whole world. On February 4th, I predicted something would happen that would declare that Satan's throne was there. It hit Hollywood. The prophecy continued. It's going to be the slowest bankruptcy of a country and a world ever because of storms, droughts, and everything. And that's all happened, but there's been Super Bowls and elections, and the Trump almost got killed because they didn't man a slopey roof, and there's just a lot of shenanigans going on, and it's kind of like, well, the Mississippi's still not working from the 2019 prophecies, and I've only done so few prophecies, people forget that I'm a prophet and that they're all in motion, and that we're going to have Michelle Obama running for president. That's one of the very few too, and that's from frickin' 2015. I know I'm not a Pentecostal, go heal, and stuff like that, but when the Lord say thus says the Lord, I will. And so the things in play now, Michelle and Barack coming out of the closet and not hurting their political career. The Mississippi is still never going to retain its 2018, money-making possibilities. United States is going bankrupt, and hopefully this isn't prophesied or anything, but it'll be exposed that quantum physics are fake, and Darwinism and racism is all a joke from the Jesuits who sold globe Earth. It's not like we ever had low goals on this. It wasn't like our goal was ever to be like, can't wait till we get 20,000 subscribers and then start making money from YouTube. You know, that's not the way this ministry was led. And
Well, describing them disasters that are life-changing events for those that are directly impacted, affected. The rest, if you're not, life goes on.
I'm sad that Trump won because the good people voted for him. They really are right. Biden stole the election, or the people that run the puppet of Biden. They really did steal the election. But now Trump and the conservatives are going to get all the blame when this economy goes to shit. And Trump's not the great Christian man that's going to stand up to them. They set him up so much to where his art of the deal isn't going to work when you're $35 trillion in debt and China has just as much guns saying, we're tired of your bullshit. Where's our money?
Yeah, Trump isn't the Messiah.
No. I saw videos today. I don't know if they're true. They said that China already said we're not buying any more soybeans from the people in the United States. And
I
so
thought you said Germany. China isn't? I thought you said Germany.
No, China announced today that, well, let me see.
300 billion in liabilities, and it may actually be on the hook for more debt, which isn't necessarily revealed on its balance sheet.
Chinese authorities have dealt a severe blow to PwC's China auditing arm, PwC Zhongtian, suspending it from the country for 6 months and imposing a staggering fine of over $62 million.
Well, that's 33K or whatever that is. So did you see the title of this? Oh, that's not the one that's not the one that I wanted to show you.
When I was talking to you early on the phone, when you called, I thought you said Germany, but maybe you meant China. Yeah,
I did. It was China that today told Germany, we're not building any more cars, any more Volkswagens in Germany. We're going to build them in China. It's the first time they've ever had layoffs of in Germany. And then China said they're going to start buying their soybeans from Brazil, not the United States. I'm going to find that.
So yeah, they're going to be dealing with the BRICS currency, and also probably,
the Fed rates got cut again. The deal I showed the tobacco one, it's not jumping out at me.
Well, we're pushing towards 75 minutes here, but
yeah.
I should.
Well, I really appreciate you hopping on. I'm glad we got to go back over this. Now, I wonder, this was one.
Germany's coalition government just collapsed because the country's prime minister, who famously promised the economy would not fall into recession, now can't agree with his former finance minister on how to get out of it. After fighting reality for over a year and ridiculing anyone who dared point out the gravity of the situation, suddenly the economy now matters. It certainly does in the marketplace, the real marketplace, not stocks, as Germany's 10-year swap spread just turned negative for the first time ever.
Today. When people couldn't get the story straight, they can look up and see who China is going to buy their soybeans from. But wherever you turn, these things are happening today, RJ. It's not going to get better.
It's a coincidence, I'm sure. It isn't Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they want us to, that's what they want us to believe about what's going to turn into the
It has
next
nothing to do
paradise
with any
fire.
indicators that's been telling, it's been unsustainable, since whenever, pick a date, and no date recent.
I guarantee you, people, you're going to wake up tomorrow and Hollywood and Ventura and that area is still going to be burning. And we're still going broke. We've covered that. I don't get assigned history books that have any mention of Freemasons or secret societies. That's to cover up as big as Tartaria. We've shown you the machines and proven that they had to be built from kits. They added 1,000 years. You also know, if you hear Jesus Christ's voice calling you, telling you, walk with him, come to him, repent, because everybody will bow their knee to Jesus Christ. It's like, I know, I always talk about you're adopted, you're elected, you're predestined, you're called to make a choice to bow your knee or not. So you can deal with, how do they deal with that confusion, RJ?
Yeah, but this is up to every individual, what you're going to do with, I'm fine with the truth of the matter.
Right. We only provide information from the world and the scripture and invite you to do what we've done. Dedicate your life to Jesus Christ, whether it hurts you in this world or not. Because, ladies and gentlemen, this is not your home. I bit my tongue. I meant to say this is not your home, but I'm like, wow. I mean, that sounded like I was going like, home, but I'm not drunk. I don't drink. I'm not drinking tonight. I drank some beers a couple of months ago, last year. The Flat Earth Nation. The mud flood was Armageddon. The mud flood was Armageddon. Me and my friends are never going to tell you anything else because we are trying to prove we have your best interest at heart. And believe me, we do. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakame. And good night.